You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, me and Pat are going to talk about a Bulls exec wants to wait for Zoe to come back. Don't know what they're smoking. We're also going to give our grades for AKME 2022-23 season and prepare for the draft lottery. All that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. That's Pat the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze, and host of the Chicago Bears podcast over at ESPN 1000. I'm host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central and correspondent for the Bulls on Bleacher Report. It's crazy. But let's go ahead and get into the content for today, Pat. Daniel Greenberg tweeted it out today, some disturbing. There was a mass disturbance in the force when this was tweeted out, and we all felt it. Every Bulls fan in America felt this when it was said. And it was that there are some people reading the tweet directly. This was from Sean Devaney when he was being interviewed on the radio. There are some people in Chicago Bulls front office that want to run it back with the same team and wait for Lonzo Ball to return, and there are some in the front office that want to make changes to this roster. Pat, how concerning is it to you that you hear that anyone, no matter who it is, we don't have the exact names, is really considering waiting for Lonzo Ball to come back still after what we saw this season?
Hey, bro, you said that like when you went at Jordan Crawford, bro. That was so funny. Don't know what they're smoking, but we just gonna move fast. That is the statement, though, right? Here's the thing, though. Here's what I'll say. This is what I need people to understand. Front offices are large.
This is true. It could be the person who literally loads the printer with paper. That could be the person that said that.
And so I often ask, okay, but who in the front office feels this way? Now I will say this, and we'll talk about kind of AK and giving his grade and stuff like that. But it does seem, like that he's held on to Lonzo coming back, being a big part of what this team is going to be. And the main thing to me is that you're relying on a guy's health who hasn't been healthy his entire career. You're talking about a guy that's had, 2 healthy seasons. His whole NBA career has been in the league, I think 6-7 years now, maybe something like that. And so to me, right, like that, I think that's the part where I look at it and I say, that's the reason that I'm the most concerned by hearing this, because clearly somebody up there loves what Lonzo Ball can bring. Here's the thing. I love what Lonzo Ball can bring. The problem is he can't bring it without knees. So you got to have that guy on the court, and you have to at least have the wherewithal to replace that guy or find a guy that can come in and be a suitable option. Here's the thing at this point too, right? I'm fine with you waiting on Lonzo Ball. That shouldn't mean that, because at this point you got to pay him. No matter what move you make, no matter what exemption you do, you're paying him his money. So, but my point is that shouldn't mean I don't find another player that can play the position. And I feel like that's the route that this sentiment sends to me. But again, I don't know if this is AK or Mark Eversley. This could be, right, it could be freaking John Paxson sharpening pencils up there just going, hey, man, like I really like Lonzo Ball.
That sounds like a Paxson type statement. If Gar was still in the company, I'd be like, oh, it was absolutely Gar for him. Absolutely Gar. Here's what's concerning to that for me is because we've talked about the details of it. I'm not going to get into the minutia of it again, but it's going to take about 18 to 20 months for Lonzo Ball to be able to return just to even try to get back on the court, much less how long we're talking about him getting back in rhythm. He has 24 months left on his contract. It makes no sense to wait on Lonzo Ball to try to make improvements to your roster. It's different if you want to say, hey, we got some faith that when Lonzo does come back, we want that to still be in a Bulls uniform, whatever shape that may be, and thus we're not going to use a disabled player exception or whatever on him, because when he does come back, we hope that it's still in the Bulls uniform. If you were to say that, Cool. Be optimistic all you want on that. But to say that you want to keep the roster the exact same in hopes that Lonzo Ball is going to return and save us is no. You gotta stop. We saw that. We saw that this year. And I truly do think after this season ending presser from AK that he at the beginning of the season really did think that Lonzo Ball would make his return before the end of the season.
I think everybody did. I mean, you don't put him on the calendar if you didn't think
Exactly. 100%. But we've seen it. We've been there. And guess what? Even since then, he's had yet another surgery. And if we're being honest, I just want to be honest in this. That surgery is typically more for quality of life than it is for returning back to high-level sports.
Who was the guy that you quote tweeted that he said that he was he had the same surgery from the same doctor as Lonzo, right?
Yeah. Well, he had it from the Bulls doctor, but that Lonzo didn't have his surgery with the same doctor. But he said that he was never able to skate well enough again to play in the NHL again.
Yeah.
That surgery is brutal. Cartilage replacement surgery in your knee is absolutely brutal. And go and do it. I said when I did the research, we brought it all here. Like, it's just a brutal surgery. And I hope that Lonzo can be the first NBA player to come back at a high level from it and make history. But you can't bet on that. When you're looking at something that bleak, you can't bet on it. It'd be different if we're talking about an ACL. It'd be different if we're still just talking about a normal meniscus tear. We're talking about a surgery in which high-level athletes do not return back from more times than not. That's a scary proposition to wait to improve your franchise on that, man.
And I think here's the biggest thing that you have to take into account, right? The team that Lonzo left is not that team.
This is true.
Right?
Yeah.
This is not 32-year-old DeMar DeRozan. This will be 34-year-old DeMar DeRozan. This is not 33-year-old or 31-year-old Vooch. This will be 33-year-old Vooch if you do run it back, right? And to me, right, like that's the part that you really have to look at with what bringing Lonzo Ball back is going to be able to do, because now you're getting to the point where you have to start saying, all right, we need to start looking at some of these younger pieces on this team and them taking a bigger role. Now, here's the thing. I want Lonzo Ball with P. Will. I want Lonzo Ball with Kobe White. I want Lonzo Ball with Ayo Dosunmu. I want Lonzo with these younger pieces on the team. But that doesn't mean you just run everything back, because that team is 2 years ago, and holding on to a team that was, while that is a very Reinsdorf thing to do, is not the right answer for the direction that you're heading with this team, especially with the youth that you have on this team and having no idea how that youth fits. And oh, by the way, you're trying to fit all that youth together while hoping that a guy can come back off of one of the worst knee surgeries that you can get in sports right now.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's a tall order, and as much as I don't want to ever remove from talking about the whole Lonzo situation, like there's still not a person attached to that. I love Lonzo as a person, right? I don't agree with most of his hip hop takes, but as a person, Lonzo's a cool dude. From
got
what
bad hip hop takes. I don't know if I've heard a lot of Lonzo hip hop. I've heard him rap. He's not that bad at rap.
He's not that bad of a rapper, but his hip hop takes they a bit rough there, bro.
Does he follow the Ja Morant path? He a big young boy guy.
I don't think no. He's more of a Migos guy.
Okay, that's not that bad.
Yeah,
that fits his era. That's not that bad. Yeah, I mean,
bad. But it's not great either. But
keep all weaponry away from him. That's all I say. Hey, listen, he deserved these jokes at this point. I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care. You did it to yourself.
Bro, the whole Ja Morant thing, I just look at that and like, hey, I understand being young and dumb, right? But at least learn from your mistakes. You made the same mistake twice in less than 6 months. That's crazy.
We sitting here talking about young and dumb with Ja Morant, like Ja Morant ain't a whole parent out here. You don't get the young and dumb excuse when you got kids involved.
Hey, listen, I can't argue that fact at all. At some point, you got to wake up. But yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't want to act like Lonzo isn't a person. I really do hope, because that video when he talked about how he can't even make it up steps, he can't live his normal life. Like, I felt that. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to have children and not be able to just do the stuff like
run with your kids.
Yeah, like that. That's because
he got what? He got 2 young kids.
Is it 2? I know he has at least 1.
I feel like he's got 2, but maybe it's just 1. But even the fact that you can't run behind your daughter. I don't know what Lonzo has. I'm not gonna lie. You can't run behind your daughter or your son. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy to think about.
Yeah. That's wild. It's tough, and and to be away from the game that you literally have been playing your whole life.
Yeah.
Like the Lonzo and them been playing since they was like 7. So
Yeah.
it's I'm sure it's tough, man. And I do hope that Lonzo Ball does eventually make a return. I don't know if it's going to be in a Bulls uniform or not. That story remains to be told, and we'll be talking about it here as we progress and go through that over here at Locked On Bulls. But let's go ahead and get ready to move into the next topic, in which we're going to be giving our grades for AK and Eversley in this season. But before we do that, got to talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that is Game Time. Now, if you ever have had to buy tickets to an event, you know how stressful it can be. But Game Time is fast and easy, and it's a great way to buy tickets. Game Time is the place for the last-minute ticket deals. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're all set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone, so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, Bulls fans, we just want to thank you for always tuning in to Locked On Bulls. Always free and available on every podcasting platform as well as YouTube. Make sure you guys go. I can't stress this enough. If you're on the podcast side, just go on to YouTube, just hit the subscribe button. Help us gain some traction there. If you're on the YouTube side and that's where you watch us, just go ahead and go over to the Apple Podcast, Spotify, leave a review where you can there. Helps us grow. But with that being said, Pat, let's get into the next topic. That is grading AKME and AK and Eversley for the 2022-23 season. I know we talk a lot about AK, not very much about Mark Eversley in this. We talk a lot about the AK in AKME, but not a lot about the ME. But how you grading the front office this year, brother?
There's no me and team. Wait, hold on now. That's not no, but I mean, listen, I think what we talked about is a big deterrent for me. I give the front office this season what I thought might have been an A based on what Ion DeSumo could have been and the hope that Lonzo Ball was coming back off of, right? I thought that they did some good things adding Andre Drummond. I do want to give them credit for things like that. But by the end of the season, right, you can only go based on the season. I'm giving them a D. And it's based on the fact that you came into this season with full trust that Lonzo Ball was going to be back and no real answer for the backup point guard position. Even if you thought Goran Dragic was going to be a solid answer for you, you knew he wasn't going to be that answer every single night. We talked about that when we acquired Goran Dragic. We were like, hey, listen, I think that he's a good shooter. I think that he adds some shooting to the Bulls. I like what he can bring to this team. But he's not an every night backup point guard. And he's definitely not an everyday starting point guard. So I think that, right, like the fact that you came in just saying, hey, one day Lonzo will be back. And this is just, and I guess I get it, right? Like that's the bridge to try and just get you 30 games maybe till Lonzo would have been back. But again, you're putting a lot of faith in the fact that you just believe that this guy's coming back when we've seen the health not hold up for him. And we've seen guys take a full year plus recently, right? Like this ain't like we haven't seen this around the NBA. Like Kendrick Nunn just went through this and he basically still hasn't returned to the player that he at one point was, which still was kind of just a mid-role player. Yeah. But like the fact that you did nothing to that front and you know how important it is to your team, and now everybody should know how important it is to your team based on what we saw out of this team the second half of the season with just having a point guard that was average. That's malpractice. That's GM malpractice, what we saw.
Yeah, and I so in coming into us doing this grade, I kind of thought about like how much do I have to give them credit for the fact that ownership doesn't want them, because I think that the Bulls would have used, AK would have used the full luxury tax I'm sorry, the full mid-level exception, which would have sent us into the luxury tax if he was on any other team, which then we could have netted even better free agents. I truly do think that, right? But at the same time, at some point, it's on you as the GM to pivot. Whatever the parameters of your job are, you accepted this job with those parameters. One of those parameters is you can't go into the luxury tax. So at some point, and I get it that we thought we had Danilo Gallinari. He ends up going to Boston instead. How does the Bulls season look different if he would have stayed healthy and been on this team and helped with that power forward position and brought some shooting? I try to give Lynn credit to all of that, but ultimately, you failed at every goal you set. Every time AK came on here, we need to be better than last season. We need to grow from what we did last season. We didn't do any of that. We had less wins. We didn't go as far. Instead of a playoff team, we were a play-in team. All that stuff was true. And so because of that, like you said, I got to give them a D-. And that's not to say that everything they did was terrible. Some of the things, like, I understand wanting to bet on Ayo Dosunmu to see how he would grow because of how he played last season. It didn't work out. But you still got to eat that to a certain degree. And, not playing Dalen Terry even though I know it was part of his development plan to go through the G League, extending Billy Donovan, which now when you look at the coaches that have been fired around, you got to answer to all that. So it got to be a D- for me.
Whoo, extending Billy is crazy right now, which is here's the tough part,
we
right?
Could be pivoting to Monty Williams right now.
Here's what I'll say about that, right? Like, Monty Williams won with really good players.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to Chicago, I think that Monty Williams would have been a very similar type of coach to Billy Donovan. Again, I think that most coaches in the NBA are very tied to their schemes before the game starts. But I haven't seen a lot of great Monty Williams adjustments.
True, but I think that Monty Williams' offensive scheme, even if he doesn't make adjustments from that, is slightly better than Billy Donovan's. I'm not saying this.
I will agree with that. So I will agree with that. I think that you're probably shooting more threes in that sense, but also we don't really have a team that shoots the three ball well. So is that good? Right? Like that's like when Jim Boylan was here and they was like, shoot more threes, and you just saw people shooting threes and just like, hey man, why he shooting them threes?
Chris Dunn took 12 threes one game. And I was literally like, hey. You know what
I mean? Hey, I don't see a coach. I'm gonna be honest with you, Doc. Same thing. And Doc ain't even fired yet, but I think he's on the market. Nick Nurse, same thing, right? Like the players matter more than people think.
Yeah, for sure.
And so for me, I look at here's what I will say. If you give Billy Donovan the team or a similar team to what he had second half of the season or what he had when Lonzo Ball was healthy, basically just add a point guard to what we currently have, that team worked. It's not a magical thing that all of a sudden this team was able to play basketball. Is he still bad at adjustments? Yes. But the system seems to work when he at least has a point guard that's able to run what he wants to run. And Ayo Dosunmu took a massive step back because right, like he just didn't fit what Billy Donovan was trying to do, and Billy had to ride with him. And I think that killed his confidence on top of that. So I think that to me, right, I look at AK's issue more in the player sense because, like, I get that Monty went to the finals and all of that, but guys, listen, Devin Booker and Chris Paul are on his team. And it was the one season you got where Chris Paul was healthy up till the finals.
Has he been healthy since? I don't think he has been.
He hasn't been healthy before or after. Like that was his one season. He got his one shot.
That's funny, but accurate. Yeah, I mean, overall, like I said, we saw an offseason of AK get really busy. We saw an offseason of him punt. I think, depending on what happens tomorrow with that draft pick, we may have to see another season of AK getting busy.
I think you're going to see another season of him punting.
Yeah, it's more than that. I think that's the more likely outcome.
I think you will sign a point guard. I will say that. I think at a minimum you will sign a point guard, whatever that may be, right? Whether it's Derrick Rose off of weight, which listen, I need everybody to think this through, right? I know I've said bring back D Rose, but like we talking about possibly bringing back D Rose, the number one option. I don't want to go through it. I don't want to go through because he'd be the only real point guard on the team unless you're just gonna put Kobe back there, which is a possibility.
I mean,
but
that doesn't make him the number one option just because he's the point guard.
Who else gonna play? Who else gonna play point? No, I'm saying you bring him back as the number one point guard option. So he's going like if you bring him back, like you probably gonna pay him what 10, 11 mil.
I
He's
would
probably
hope
starting.
not. He's not worth it.
Well, welcome to the Bulls. He's probably starting it in that sense, right? I just want people to think this through. He can get hurt here again. That's a lot of trauma. That's a lot of trauma.
Well, that got real dark, Pat.
I'm just saying, bro. Like, that's a lot of trauma, bro. I don't want to see Derrick Rose laying on the United Center floor again, bro.
Could you imagine Derrick Rose suits back up for the Chicago Bulls wearing the number 1 and he gets hurt? Bro, the level of trauma that would induce is ridiculous. Okay, let's do your ad read, bro. We got to get up out of here with talking about this. Like, that's
I'm just saying, bro. Like, come on, we can't act like that's not a possibility out here, man. Hey, I wouldn't bet on it though. That's the real thing. By the way, we do want to let you guys know all about Prize Picks, man. Prize Picks doing some great things when it comes to the sports fantasy game. How does it work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projections, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. You're not competing against other people either. That's the fun part about it, right? Y'all ever do the some of the other companies things where you're competing against 700 people in one pool? No, you're just competing against the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you can watch. That includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, esports, all that and more. MMA. Watch your head out there. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's that easy, safe, and the withdrawals are currently safe and fast withdrawals, and they're currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Download Prize Picks or go to prizepicks.com to sign up for daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit matchup up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit $100, Prize Picks will give you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
All right. Oh, man. Still got to talk about these Bulls.
It's kind of the show.
Yeah. It is. We're locked in. Today is the draft lottery, Pat, and a lot of Bulls hope, right, is wrapped around what happens in this draft lottery. The Bulls, for those that don't know, you can hold on to your pick if it's in the top 4. Anything less than the top 4, the Orlando Magic get the pick. The Bulls currently have an 8.5% chance to keep their pick, a 1.8% chance at the number 1 overall pick, which would be Victor Wembanyama. Pat, how confident are you feeling heading into the draft lottery?
Here's what I'll say about this draft, and I'm trying to pull up the teams here, the draft order, or at least the teams in the draft lottery right now. Because of this, NBA, I will say very much like Carmen DeFalco said about the NHL with the Blackhawks getting the number 1 pick. Rig it, because you don't want a generational talent in a city that no one cares about. No disrespect to Haize, but nobody wanted to see Connor Bedard in Columbus.
Oh, well, yeah. Nobody wanted to see that.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like where we sent him? Detroit? Houston? That's where y'all want to see him. Now, the team that might still end up with the number 1 pick that a lot of people would want to see him with is the San Antonio Spurs. But can we guarantee that Pop is...
Hey, last
rumor
that came out said that Pop would absolutely stay on if they get Victor Wembanyama.
I get that, but Pop's also almost 100. Like, Pop, like is the game still all there with it, right? Like, listen, there's a lot of players on that team that me and you both liked.
Yeah,
and they still won 17 games.
I mean, points were made.
You know what I mean? I think Devin Vassell's a good player. We thought both really talked about Jakob Poeltl. Yeah, right. Like, there's talent that was on that team. They got rid of it. DeJounte Murray was on that team. Like, listen, Pop got to hold a little bit of that. Like, I'm looking at some of them later Pop teams, and I'm like, hey, you could have made a little bit more headway with that. You should have been able to get a little bit further with that. Although I will say, didn't they get in the play-in? They did get in the play-in tournament.
They were playing team 2 years ago, I think.
So maybe I'm a little harsh on that one. Maybe I'm a little harsh on that one.
I mean, they did trade their best player, DeJounte Murray, for 3 first-round picks last season, so you got to factor that in as well. You still come out of that winning 22 games this season, so, I mean, listen.
But even with that, right, like, do you want to run back the Spurs? Here's the one thing that we always talk about, that we talk about now that people didn't talk about as much then. I love Tim Duncan. I think that Tim Duncan is probably the best power forward to ever play the game.
Okay.
We didn't talk about Tim Duncan much when he was in the NBA.
Because they played a boring brand of basketball.
And you just forgot they were down there.
Yeah. Until the playoffs, and you're like, oh, the Spurs.
Here's the thing, though. But here's the thing. How do you forget a team that wins 60-plus games multiple seasons in a row? Like, we never talked about this. Like, and it's not even, right? Like, I know it's going to be some people in the comments, you never talked about the Spurs. No, like, nobody was paying attention to what the Spurs
I was
did.
in my third
right. You know what I mean?
In high school, and we talked about the Spurs regularly. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Down in San Antonio. Shut up. That's just what it is, right? So do you want Victor Wembanyama, who could be a generational talent, who possibly could be your next face of the league in San Antonio?
I mean,
that's my plea. That's my plea.
And
that's all I got.
I would even say Houston. I think Houston's an emerging city as well, but you sent Yao down there, Yao Ming, and that didn't turn into anything. I mean, if we're talking about big cities, if we're talking about this being a fixed thing, you want him in a major market. Out of all the lottery teams, are Dallas and Chicago the largest markets? Am I overlooking something there? Can you say nobody cares? There's no actual Orlando Magic fan, so
San Antonio is probably a bigger market, right? San Antonio bigger market than Dallas?
I don't know. Hey, listen, I don't know. Man.
That's probably close. Somebody has Knicks.
But you know the thing with this, honestly,
or locked on Mavs on that.
I don't care about. Let me not say I don't care. That's just wrong phrase. Can we just keep the pick? Like, really, at this point, I would love us to just be able to keep the pick. Anywhere in the top 4. Let's keep the pick.
These are your. Hey, bro, listen. Nah, I care. Rig it. Or give him to Damian Lillard. I'm not gonna lie. If you're gonna do anything, give him to Dame.
I could respect that.
I could live with that. Give him the Dame, right? Detroit, Houston, San Antonio, Charlotte, Portland, Orlando, Indiana, Washington, Utah, Dallas, Chicago, OKC, Toronto, New Orleans. Maybe Toronto.
You know what?
Maybe Toronto.
I wouldn't mind him going to Portland with Dame. I still think, I don't know if that's enough for Dame. I don't know if Wembanyama is ready to really compete at a high level quick enough for Dame, because he's already said he don't want no more 19-year-olds on that team. I don't know, man. But hey, we'll be locked in. We'll be live afterwards to discuss what happened to the. Well, if the Bulls, we ain't going live if the Bulls don't. We
definitely said that. I was like, should we go live for this? I was like, we go live if they get it. If they don't get it, we can talk about that the next day, Brian. I'm sorry, bro.
No point in that. And watch the pick fall in like number 5, bro.
I said 7.
I mean that would
just
be on brand.
So this is the, are these the odds? Okay, so this is updated. So the top 4 draft pick for odds probability for the Bulls is this right now. To get a top 4, we have an 8.04% chance. But that breaks down based on each spot, apparently, based on how the NBA put this out. 1.8 for the top pick, 1.9 for number 2, 2.2 for number 3, 2.5% chance for the number 4 overall pick. It ain't great.
We'll see, man.
We do not have the least chance to get a top overall pick.
And also the Bulls can't go like if we don't fall 1 through 4, we're not moving up. Only the top 4 picks are technically lottery picks. So we can't go as high as 5. So there's that benefit there. So
yeah,
we'll see, man. I don't know. I don't have much hope, but hey, listen, last time I didn't have much hope, we got Derrick Rose. So
let's go, boys. Come on, we getting it. Dalen Terry going there. He finna be Yeah, I mean, or whatever he be doing on the sideline. I don't know what Dalen be.
Bro, that weird thing he be doing is
Bro.
Hey,
Little
but
side eye. I mean,
if the Bulls win the draft lottery, the Dalen Terry's reaction is gonna be a meme across the world.
he's gonna moonwalk up to the front.
All right, bro, come on, man. Let's go home, bro. Like, it's done. It's done.
Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. Number one pick. Follow us on everything. Follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Number one pick. Appreciate y'all for showing love.
You can follow me at CEO Haize, CEO Haize. And thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. We will be back tomorrow, in which we will be breaking down the results of the draft lottery. For Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This has been Locked On Bulls. We out, y'all.
Peace.